Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about The Blackening. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Who made this thing? I'm not sure. Tim Story. Okay, what is he made? Okay, let's see. Tom and Jerry. Ew. Ride Along 2, Shaft, Think Like a Man 2, Ride Along, Think Like a Man, Fantastic Four, oh no. Those mid 2000s Fantastic Four movies, ugh. I mean, I liked those movies as a kid, but now they are embarrassing to watch. Like, it's painful. And then you got Taxi and Barbershop. Most of these movies have done pretty darn well financially. I mean, quality wise, it's not great, like at all. But box office wise, this is a pretty darn solid track record, I would say. The only real bomb I see on here is Shaft from 2019. But besides that, all these movies are I've done okay, or at least done. Their performances range from okay to pretty darn good. So I would definitely label that as a pro, definitely. So yeah, the director's track record, at least box office track record, I'm labeling that a pro. Another pro is that in terms of direct competition, there's not really anything because this is a horror comedy. I mean, I know we've had horror movies earlier in the year that have comedic elements in them, like say Megan, Scream 6, Evil Dead Rise, but those are more like straight up horror movies. Those are more horror than comedy. This is leaning more towards comedy than horror. So there's a difference. It's not exactly comparable to those. And really, the only horror movie in the marketplace right now is The Boogeyman, and that didn't exactly set the world on fire. I mean, it's doing okay-ish, kinda, but no one really cares about it. And there won't be another horror movie coming out until Insidious: The Red Door, but that's not like literally 3 weeks away. So there's no direct competition. I guess in terms of comedies, there's No Hard Feelings and Joyride. I don't see either of those movies being big hits, maybe sleeper hits, but definitely not blockbusters. Definitely not that. Um, but yeah, in terms of direct competition, there's not a whole lot out there. I mean, in terms of competition as a whole, there's a lot going on, but we'll talk about that later when we get to the cons. When it comes to direct competition, it's not a whole lot. So I'm labeling that as a pro. Another pro are the reviews, which are quite good. In fact, they're the best out of the three movies coming out this weekend. So, yay, I guess. Has an 85% critic score, 84% audience score. Both of those are solid. I tried looking up the cinema score, it's not there. So I can't comment on, what its score is, obviously. But oh wait, it is up. Okay, I just refreshed it. It's a B plus. That's fine. That's not like terrible or anything. That's fine for a movie like this. That's okay. So it seems like word of mouth is decent across the board. So I'm gonna label that as a pro. Word of mouth being decent across the board. Another pro is that this movie's coming out on a double holiday weekend. You don't see that very often, except maybe for Valentine's Day and President's Day happening at the same time. But yeah, this weekend there's two major holidays happening. Sunday is Father's Day, and Monday is Juneteenth. Okay. Now, Father's Day can be a pretty lucrative holiday, but really only if your movie is male centric. If your movie's female centric, is not going to be a good day. It's pretty much what happens like Mother's Day. Like, female centric movies do really well on Mother's Day. Male centric movies, not so much. So, pretty much the opposite applies for Father's Day weekend. But the real holiday that's important here is Juneteenth because obviously this movie is geared pretty much more or less entirely, or it's very much targeting, you know, black moviegoers. Okay. Yeah, obviously plenty of movies do that. I mean, but with the Monday being Juneteenth is a pretty important day when it comes to like the history of like African Americans like in this country. Like that was the day where like slavery was abolished like in Texas before it became abolished everywhere else in the country. And it wasn't like a major holiday, but it was still important. But it wasn't until like 2 years ago in 2021 where it became a federal holiday, which means, people can take off work that day. And that gives the box office another holiday. And for the box office, that's great because the more holidays, the better, and the more money you can make on holidays. So having a movie like this opening on Juneteenth is pretty perfect timing, I would say. I mean, hell, the movie takes place during the Juneteenth weekend, so the timing is literally perfect. You couldn't ask for better timing. So I say like the double holiday weekend, but particularly with Juneteenth and like the fact that the movie, like part of the plot, revolves around you know all these friends coming for a Juneteenth weekend. I say that's a positive, although there is a negative to it that I will explain later. But just opening on this weekend is pretty smart. So that's a pro in my book. Another pro is that advertising for this movie has been pretty solid. They've been pushing it enough. I've seen trailers in front of like bigger movies. Um, Recently, I know I saw it in front. Like the first time I saw this movie, I even knew about it. Really, was when I saw the trailer in front of Creed 3, and obviously Creed 3 did very well earlier this year. So yeah, obviously I say attaching a trailer to big movies is a very good thing. So yeah, and Lionsgate has done a pretty okay job marketing the movie. So I'd say that's a positive. So that's a pro. And I think that's it with pros. I can't think of anything else. I guess well, it's Thursday preview numbers. I can't. I guess that's more middle ground. It's not 100,000. That's not amazing, but I wasn't exactly expecting great numbers for a movie like this when it comes to previews. I mean, it's not like it's a big franchise movie or something. But I mean, these preview numbers. I mean, the fact that the movie's not exactly a huge release either. Like it's only in like less than 1,800 theaters. So yeah, I say these numbers are moderate. They're not great, but they're not terrible. They're moderate, so I'm labeling it as middle ground. Okay, now for actual cons. The big con is that this movie it's dealing with a lot, a lot of competition overall. I mean, you got The Flash and Elemental opening this weekend. Neither are looking like hits, but they're still gonna make more money than this, at least in terms of box office, revenue. Not to mention, there's holdovers to deal with. There's Across the Spider Verse that's still kicking. There's the second weekend of Rise of the Beast, even though that movie's falling like a stone, according to what I've heard like from early numbers. It's still gonna make a solid 20 million. So you got like four movies making 20 million on one weekend. And not to mention there's Little Mermaid still has a pulse out there. So that's a lot. That's a lot of competition. And not to mention like the next few weeks. I mean, next week won't be too bad. Next week is pretty quiet. But after that, I mean, you got Indiana Jones on July 30th. I guess Ruby Gillman too, but it's mainly going to be the Indiana Jones show. And then after that, there's Insidious and Joyride. And then mid-July, Mission Possible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. So there's going to be a lot of There's a lot of movies out right now. And there's going to be a lot of movies coming out in the future. And that's not great for a movie like this. So, yeah, just competition general competition, labeling that as a con. Another con is trying to remember. Oh yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like I mentioned how this movie opening on Juneteenth is a positive, but there's also a negative to it. You see, where any movie that is specifically centered around a holiday or the holiday's a part of the plot, like if you release it on that holiday, it's more than likely going to do really good. But once the holiday is over, the movie becomes irrelevant immediately. This has happened to the Halloween movies recently, where they open like before Halloween, and then Halloween day, like they're super relevant. Once we enter November, they die immediately. The same applies for like any romance movie, any like love centric movie opening around Valentine's Day, where you do really well on Valentine's Day, but once it's over, you're dead. You're just dead. And the same applies for like any Christmas movies or holiday movies, playing after Christmas, they die. So this movie pretty much has one weekend to really thrive before it becomes immediately irrelevant. So that's not great. Who knows? Maybe this movie can survive after Juneteenth, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, just the fact that the movie's centered like Juneteenth is a part of the plot, and it's opening on Juneteenth weekend, and the fact that movies that I'm losing my train of thought. Juneteenth opening on Juneteenth is both a blessing and a curse for this movie. And like the curse part is that once it's over, the movie could die. Like it won't last very long. Or at least it might not last very long. So I'm labeling that as a con. I could be wrong here, but I'm gonna label that as a con. Um Trying to think of some other cons. I guess, it's definitely the smallest movie of the weekend, definitely. It only cost like $5 million. Flash and Elemental cost like 200 million each. So in terms of publicity, this definitely has like the smallest amount. So I guess might as well label that as a con too. Um I think that's it. I think I covered all the major points. Yeah? Yeah. So, opening weekend, I should I do 4-day? I guess I could do 4-day technically. Screw it, I'm going to do 3-day and 4-day. So, 3-day opening weekend. I don't know, part of me feel like before this movie came out, part of me felt like it would be more of like a surprise hit. It would hit like the teens, but I guess this is not happening according to early numbers. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say 6 to 8, no, 5 to 7 million for the 3-day weekend, and 4-day 7 to 9 million, I guess, and then it's total. I don't know, um, less than 20. I think maybe less than 15. Who knows? But I'm gonna say 15 to 20 million. I'm probably wrong about that, but oh well. And that's it. And that's it for the Blackening. So, yeah. All right, so 2 more movies to talk about. The big 2 movies of the weekend. Ooh, and there's going to be quite a bit to discuss, and not a lot of it's going to be positive. These are going to be 2 really negative videos, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year, the past few years. You want to watch any of those, go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I covered the Blackening one time. That was episode 167, where it got its release date of June 16th. And funny enough, I also talked about The Flash in that video, movie that's coming out at the same weekend. So I wanted to mention that. But I also talked about it alongside what is there? Plane, Women Talking, Mickey 17, Mummies, Moving On. So I thought about it alongside all those. So that's episode 167. You want to watch any of the past cancel episodes I made, from beginning to now. I just did 2 cancel episodes earlier this week. I could have done one about the untitled Sony, Marvel movies, but I just said no. I just didn't. But I made like 2 videos all about pretty much Disney release date changes because of the writers' strike. Um, so you want to watch? There's like 194 episodes now, so you want to watch any of those from beginning to now. Want to binge them all? I highly encourage you to do that. So go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. June recap will come out around the same time as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. When that comes out, my June recap video will come out around the same time. So stay tuned for that because let me tell you, I feel that video is going to be extremely negative in tone. There's only going to be like one positive thing to talk about, and that's Across the Spider-Verse because man, like every other movie, it is not going well. So, and I can't imagine the rest of the month is gonna be great either. So, ugh. But there will be quite a bit to discuss. So, stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.